Hey, this is Rogue Video, and we're going all the way back to 2015. That year, excitement was a-brewin'. A new Star Wars movie was coming out with a fresh new story, and everyone who wasn't a fellow nerd was asking, what is the best way to watch all these movies? I'm not sure. The fourth one is called Episode 1, and the first one is called Episode 4. What do I do? I myself was asked this question several times in 2015, and the question kept coming back with each new episode sequel. Basically, there are three main ways people like to watch the Star Wars movies. In release order, which is simply watching the movies in the order of the year that they came out. In chronological order, following the in-story timeline and the episode numbers in the opening crawl. The machete order, invented by the internet, which calls to begin with the original Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, then start watching the prequels, but skipping The Phantom Menace, and then continue on to Return of the Jedi and the sequel trilogy. There have been many debates back and forth on which way is the best, especially for first-time viewers. Well, today, I'm throwing my hat into the conversation with why release order is the best way to watch Star Wars for the first time, for taking in the overall story of Star Wars. And I'll also go into why chronological and machete order absolutely are not. My first case for the release order being the superior choice to begin with is that the idea of having the Phantom Menace being the story that kicks off everything, it just doesn't work. The film simply does not have a suitable introduction to not only the overall series storyline, but it's not a suitable introduction to the Star Wars universe as a whole. As a movie, it just doesn't kick off the entire saga with a bang. Just look at the opening crawls. Which one of these two get you excited to kick off a space saga? This turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic. The taxation of trade routes to outlying star systems is in dispute. Or it is a period of civil war. Rebel spaceships, striking from a hidden base, have won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. You see my point? And those are only just the first few sentences. The opening crawl for The Phantom Menace hits you with just a lot of information about trade disputes and taxation, and you know, I actually don't mind the Senate scenes that come later in the film. I think they're pretty cool. But this stuff is not necessary for one's introduction to Star Wars, especially not in the first few seconds. When I first saw The Phantom Menace, I already cared about the universe, so I thought those Senate scenes were pretty interesting. But I don't think I would if it was my introduction to the universe. What? And I don't care what anyone says, the entire Phantom Menace crawl, it just reads awkward as fuck. The original Star Wars film does it perfectly. Let's keep the information light, and let's keep the first story straightforward and simple. There are no big plots, no master plans, it's just a straightforward adventure. Another good example of starting out a huge saga this way is with the Lord of the Rings novels, which have some of the best fantasy world building ever created. And it's even further dived into deeply with the Silmarillion. But Tolkien's introduction to his world was a simple and straightforward adventure story in The Hobbit. The book just featured Bilbo Baggins leaving his humble home into a wider world with its deep history and details just barely hinted at in the book. They saved it all for later. The same goes for the first Star Wars. It's the simple hero's journey of Luke Skywalker leaving his farm and taking on the evil Galactic Empire with his friends. While we do get a hint of the background world of Star Wars.
Hello there.
He has too much of his father in him.
That's what I'm afraid of.
General Kenobi, years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars. Now he begs you to help him in his struggle against the Empire.
The old Senate will no longer be of any concern to us. I have just received word that the Emperor has dissolved the Council permanently. The last remnants of the old Republic have been swept away.
I sense something. A presence I've not felt since... He is here.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. What makes you think so?
A tremor in the Force. The last time I felt it was in the presence of my old master.
He must not be allowed to escape.
Escape is not his plan. I must face him alone.
We don't go too deep yet, and we start off with a straightforward adventure in this new world. We're just getting familiar with it.
Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
Huh?
Now, my personal favorite case for the original Star Wars being the first film to start everything is a reason surprisingly never talked about amongst fans. It's the only film in the entire saga that actually explains what the Force is and who Jedi are in a short, easy scene.
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. And the Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
That scene also has Obi-Wan explaining Darth Vader and the rise of the Empire.
A young Jedi named Darth Vader, who was a pupil of mine until he turned to evil, helped the Empire hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights.
All of these elements essentially set up all of the main plot points for the entirety of all that is Star Wars so far. The Phantom Menace, on the other hand, does not explain who or what Jedi are, and gives us zero explanation of what the Force is. It's just there. All we do is get technical with the midichlorians.
Midichlorians are a microscopic life form that resides within all living cells.
I don't understand.
We are symbionts with them.
I don't understand.
Without the midichlorians, life could not exist, and we would have no knowledge of the Force.
I don't understand.
They skip the basics. Why? Because the film assumes the viewer knows these things already, which is not ideal for someone using Phantom Menace as their jumping off point.
Imperial troops have entered the base. Imperial troops have entered.
When we get to The Empire Strikes Back, Release Order gets even more points for preserving the I am your father twist, which chronological will throw out the window. This argument and Empire Strikes Back's cliffhanger ending is also used heavily with the Machete Order stands as a perfect segue into the prequels to be used as a quote-unquote flashback into seeing how Vader is Luke's father. Well, sorry guys, that's bullshit. Abandoning these characters on a cliffhanger for a giant flashback with its own cliffhangers within the so-called flashback doesn't make sense and is just
unnatural.
Doing this also ruins other cliffhangers. While yes, Vader does tell Luke he is his father at the end of Empire, the movie does leave room for doubt. Machete Order simply kills this doubt by confirming everything is true. Now, let's step away from the story and get technical. If you're watching Star Wars using the Machete Order, it's very odd to jump from a movie using special effects and styles from the early 80s, then jump to early 2000s CGI, and then going back to the 80s with Return of the Jedi. Watching each trilogy intact keeps consistency and keeps each movie within their own world, whether it is a CGI one, a practical effects one. If you go with the Release Order, starting out with a 1970s film and watching all the way to the sequels just shows a natural progression of technology and filmmaking. Hell, it even shows a natural progression from the porn star mustache era to the non-porn star mustache era. There's just no backtracking. Machete Order also messes up Return of the Jedi by ruining Leia's reveal as the other. Now, here are your two possible reveals of Luke and Leia's relation. Now you tell me which one hits stronger. This?
Oh,
Luke. It's a girl.
Leia.
Or
Yoda spoke of another.
The other he spoke of is your twin sister. Your sister remains safely anonymous.
Leia. Leia is my sister.
Your insight serves you well.
The Force is strong in my family. My father has it. I have it. And my sister has it. Yes. It's you, Leia.
I know. Somehow, I've always known.
This is such good shit.
I rest my case again. Hell, let's even talk force power surprises. Seeing the Emperor blow lightning from his fingers as a kid rocked my mind. Hell, I didn't know the Force could do that. Some crazy dark side shit. lightning blasting out the Emperor's fingers as he strikes them into Luke with pure hatred. What a moment! If I would have watched the Machete Order, I would have learned how the Sith got lit with this less than stellar presentation. Chronological order messes up the introduction to the Force in other ways too. If you start with Phantom Menace, we see Jedi and Sith doing all this crazy shit right from the get-go, and then call what we see in the original films boring. One of the most meaningful moments of teaching and awe is when Luke sees Yoda retrieve his X-Wing from the swamp in Empire Strikes Back.
I don't believe it.
That is why you fail.
At that point, Luke had no idea that was even possible with the Force. And a first-time viewer watching Star Wars in release order would be along for the ride with him. However, a lot of that loses meaning when you go with the chronological order and see Yoda doing this meaningless shit. So, Return of the Jedi goes after The Empire Strikes Back, and all is right in the world. Now, I know I've been hard on the prequels in this video so far, but I actually don't hate them. This is where Machete Order loses more points. The Machete Order calls to skip Phantom Menace completely, and while I have problems with that film, that's super harsh. Come on, bro. If you're going to watch all the movies, then just go all the way. Now, I don't have much to say about the sequels because no matter which order you choose, they're always going to be tacked at the end. But I'll say this. A lot of people complained when The Force Awakens came out how they were very off-put, how different everyone was. Luke went from being a Jedi Knight saving the day to an island hermit avoiding the big fight. Han went from being a selfless leader and general to falling back to his old ways, smuggling around space with Chewbacca. Now, personally, this never bothered me because I liked seeing them as different people over a 30-year gap. It made sense to me that they changed from life experiences, but watching The Force Awakens right after Return of the Jedi, it does feel like a sudden change of character progression and is quite jarring, like a big reset. You know what fixes this? Release order, baby. Once I finish watching Return of the Jedi, I then proceed to watch the prequels, taking a nice long break from Han, Luke, and Leia. I can see all the shit that goes down during the last years of the Republic, and once Revenge of the Sith ends with a nice full circle tying it all together, I've had enough time away from the big three that their life changes aren't so jarring anymore. I'm ready for some new situations. So, there you have it, my case for release order. Now, if I'm doing a Star Wars marathon where I'm including every film, like the spin-offs, I do become a bit hypocritical and change things up a bit. But that's for a different video. If you agree or disagree, let me know what you think in the comments and we'll hash it out. Until next time.